Good afternoon, everyone. Snowy Tuesday. Going to talk about leads today. We're going to talk about how you can turn $10,000 into $200,000 in 3 years or less. The co-presenters today are going to be myself and Justin. And I felt like it was important to pull Justin in because some people will find excuses or reasons why this won't work for them. One of them being maybe that I've been in the business for 14 years. But by bringing you in, Justin, you've been in the business how long?
Just going over 2 years at this point.
2 years. And
Yep.
You've been investing in leads from what, day one?
Pretty much day one. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So this will take every excuse out of the book when you have both of us basically saying, if you're not doing this, you're crazy. And as we go through this, I'll tell you some of my reasons why I think you're crazy if you're not investing in leads, and why you need to start thinking about investing in leads and making a plan and getting started with it, because there's no better way to build your business and create an income stream that's consistent and predictable than investing in leads. You know, let's, for instance, let's just look at the company Zillow or Real.com. They've been built off advertising. They've both become billion-dollar companies by investing in advertising. We missed the boat. We missed as agents early on figuring all this out. So tech companies figured it out, and now they've become billion-dollar companies from our listings. It's time to start turning the tides of that and becoming better advertisers as real estate agents. Back in the day when the internet first came out, it was mostly brokerages that were investing in leads, and they were low split, high fee companies that were investing in leads for the agents on their behalf and making a profit. Zillow and the realtors of the world kind of took over. They kind of pulled that away. A lot of the big actual real estate companies like your Colwells, your Remax, they pulled way back on their advertising spend and let Zillow and Real.com take over, because agents were starting to demand higher splits and lower fees. And it created a huge gap in the industry that is still there today and will be for a long time probably. But we need to get better as real estate agents. We need to learn how to build better businesses. And when you're building a business, in my opinion, you're really just a real estate agent unless you're investing in leads and investing in advertising and investing in your future. If you're not doing those things, you really don't have a business. You're just a real estate agent. So let's get started. Talk about the first slide. Why invest in leads? There's no referral-based business that is economy proof. I don't care how many referrals you get. I could never look at an agent that does pretty much 100% referrals and ask them what they're going to make next year, and for any of them give me a solid number. When you're investing in leads, you can give you a solid number. You'll know kind of even from just today, even though you haven't been investing yourself, you'll know roughly what you should expect from the cost of leads to the conversion if you're halfway decent, or even if you kind of suck at it. And over time, you'll get to know your numbers even better. Justin, I assume you know your numbers very well, right?
Yeah.
Down to the cost per lead, cost per conversion, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. There's no referral-based business that's predictable. There's no referral-based business that can grow consistently without a roller coaster curve. We all know the roller coaster curve of real estate. And if you're not investing in leads, your business is literally going to look like this. You have a bunch of referrals, you're slamming the first half of the year, and then when the market's supposed to be busy, you're dead in the water. The only way to flatten out that curve is with lead generation. Not everyone has a big sphere. Justin, did you have a big sphere of influence in the area when you got into the business?
No, when I started the business, I had nearly no sphere of influence. Most of the people that are in my sphere of influence, for lack of a better word, I mean, actually, I'll just be completely honest about it. I mean, a lot of the people that I grew up with were mostly into partying. None of them are really in a position where they're ready to buy a house at all. And any referral that I get from them, you know, it's somebody that's going to need to be worked for 2 years before they're ready to go anywhere.
Exactly. Exactly. There's also, sphere of influence. Even if you had a good one, it can dry up. It can dry up at times. Lead generation is predictable. It's repeatable, and you can literally move anywhere in the world and repeat the model that you've built. The only thing, the big thing that made me nervous, yeah, spending money and investing in leads will make anyone nervous, especially until you've proven yourself. But there's nothing more nervous than just not knowing what your income is going to be in the next year, and not knowing whether your family decides to move to California, if you could just do it again. If you learn how to be good at lead generation and conversion, you could literally move your family anywhere and repeat and do the same thing over again. So those kind of things can take a lot of stress off your family. You create your budget. Just like any business, you have a budget, you have an overhead, you have money you need to spend to make money. You have to start thinking about that when it comes to your real estate career as well. And most agents, probably 90% of agents out there, have not taken that step or taken that hard line look at lead generation and advertising. Are leads always a good investment? No, they're not. You can lose money investing in leads, but only if you suck. I literally want to slap people when I hear people say, oh, I invested in leads and they sucked and I quit. Countless agents invested in Zillow or Real.com and they did lose money. And it's not the leads. The leads are never the problem. It's the agent.
Yeah, you need systems in place.
Yes, we'll talk about systems. That's one of the first things we're going to talk about. But yes, you need systems. You have to have systems and follow-up and skills, but the leads don't suck. You suck. So if I had bad experiences in the past, I just didn't have the systems. I figured I'll just go spend money with this company or that company. And I've done them all myself. I've been in the business 15 years now, almost 15 years now. And I've tried every single one of them and I've lost money at some of them. Some of them wasn't the right time. Some of them, I just didn't have the right systems, or I just made excuses. So the leads don't suck. If you've had the experience in the past where leads sucked for you, it wasn't the lead's fault. It was you. So you got to just at least, worst case, half suck. And basically the numbers I'm going to show you today, it's kind of, being half good, half suck. If you get really good at this, your numbers can be even better than what we're going to talk about, and your results will be better than you expect. Your success will largely and entirely be dependent on your systems and your follow-up, which we're going to talk about. Some interesting facts. Zillow, these are some numbers just from the last year. Zillow's revenue rose to $233 million. The homes segment brought in $600 million. And this is actually, the first number is the premier agent, which is what agents spend. Agents spend $233 million a year with Zillow. That wouldn't happen year after year, and it wouldn't be growing if agents didn't see a profit from it. The challenge in the future is going to be they're starting to hire real estate agents. They say they're not necessarily going to stop selling leads to real estate agents, but why would they say that? Even if their 10-year plan is to never sell another lead to a real estate agent, they're not going to say that now. But just think about that number, $233 million. They've become a multi-billion-dollar company off our listings that feed from MLS into Zillow. They advertise them. That's the money they're making. It's insane. Move Inc., which owns Realtor.com, they bring in brought in $118 million. That for them is probably largely from real estate agents. And there's over 2 million real estate agents nationwide, but I've heard the number is around only 500,000 to maybe 750,000 active real estate agents. So think about those numbers on how much is being spent per active agent out there. When I was pricing out some of these with Zillow and stuff, I was really asking them, what are some of your bigger agents spending? There's agents that are spending $100,000 a year or more, or not a year, a month with Zillow on leads. If they didn't make it work and they weren't making a profit on it, they wouldn't be doing it. So you follow success. I've always, you know, lived with the belief that if you want to be successful, follow successful people. See what they're doing. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to reinvent everything. You just have to follow, you know, find systems that others have used and put them into your business and use them. So it's, if any of these companies are spending this kind of money to get in front of consumers online where they're looking for homes or looking for home valuations, if they're making it successful, you can too. They don't have any better systems than you. There's so much technology out there that's available now that you can literally do this yourself. You just have to have a plan and you have to execute the plan. So as far as investing in leads, hopefully after today, you're convinced that if you're not investing now, you need to start, and you need to increase that over time to get the kind of results that you really want out of your business. But there are some rules of the game. First, you have to be disciplined. You have to overcome fear, because there's going to be fear involved. Fear of picking up the phone, fear of spending money and going broke, fear of the return not coming fast enough. All those things. There's going to be fear. You're going to have to overcome it. You have to be resourceful. I don't know how many times people ask me questions, and what I really want to say is, you know, and not that I don't like questions. I like questions, and it's always good to get someone else's opinion. But sometimes the questions you see or get are, you know, well, what do you think would be a good place to invest in leads? And it's certainly, I've done my research. Certainly, I know a bit about it, but I don't know everything about it. And I am nowhere near an expert that other people are. So one of the things I do is I follow a lot of real estate groups on social media. And these are just some of the groups I'm involved in: Massachusetts Real Estate Investors, Massachusetts Real Estate Network, Massachusetts Real Estate Agents. A big one is Lab Coat Agents, Zero to Diamond Real Estate Agents. All you have to do is go into groups and search real estate and start joining all these groups and following what they're doing, because you have to become resourceful in order to continue to improve, continue to find better ways of doing things. And no one is the expert. In fact, I would say the experts are the most resourceful people out there. They're the ones that are not recreating the wheel or reinventing things. They're going out and finding answers. So yes, you know, ask the people that you know, like me as a, you know, broker, as a broker and as an owner of the Lux Group. You can ask me, but don't just rely on your small sphere. Look outside your sphere. Look where you can find other answers, and continue to always be resourceful and gain knowledge about what you're doing. You have to analyze things. If you're not going to analyze your leads, then don't do it. It's a rule, a hard, fast rule. If you're not going to analyze what you're spending, what you're getting for a return, don't do it. You have to want it. You have to want it bad. You have to want the return. You have to want a more predictable business. You have to create raving fans. If you're going to just invest in leads and do your job half-assed, then you're not going to get the return you should. And when I show you a slide in a little bit, you're going to see what I mean by this. You have to create a plan and you have to stick to it. If you don't have a plan and you don't have your systems, it's just not going to work. Did I miss anything there, Justin?
Yeah, Tracy, I think the only thing that I would add to that is a lot of people think that when you lead generate, that the lead is going to come in and you're going to show a house and they're going to convert tomorrow. And that is just less than 1% of what you receive when you lead generate. It's what you're talking about. It's about having the systems in place, following up, analyzing the leads, analyzing your spend, and making sure that you are sticking to the plan, and keeping in touch with them. It's
absolutely, totally agree.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about it. You probably thought it was nuts, some stupid thing. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. How can you really make $200,000 off a $10,000 investment? The reality is you could actually make a lot more. If you're half as good as you can be, you probably make double or triple that. I'm posing a question now. Do you think you can make $1 million off a $10,000 investment? I'm going to show you you can, and I'm going to show you why this could be the best investment you ever make. Yeah, I do believe that at some point it's good as a real estate agent to have stock account, invest in stocks, maybe invest in real estate, buy a real estate. But I don't know how many times I've seen agents buy a multifamily home that makes maybe 10% cash flow. They invest $80,000 into that. They make $8,000 a year when they could have invested that money into their business and be making $200,000, $300,000 a year. Like, that's the kind of investment you make when your business is whole and your business is where it should be, but not right now, in my opinion, especially when the market's at the super high. And, is there going to be a continued appreciation? We don't know. Properties are going at, 8% cap rates, 9% cap rates. Invest in your business first. And yes, you're going to have to make an effort more so than a passive investment like a multifamily, but you're out there looking for clients and you own an investment property and it's making you $800 a month. I'm not sure that's the best use of your money. So just keep that in mind as we talk about this more. We're going to look at the numbers, and I know some of you guys are thinking out there, well, I don't have $10,000 to spend right now. And when I say $10,000, I don't necessarily mean 10,000 right today. It would be, over the next 6 months, let's say. But there's a lot of different.
My first investment was $200.
$200. Yeah, exactly.
When I first started. So.
And you keep scaling it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to keep putting it back in. But some of you may not have all that. You might have some of it. You may be scared. There are, if you're struggling, you're not there yet, there are a lot of ways, which we'll talk about in a little bit, of how you can start to do business right now from somebody else that's spending money on leads. And what I'm talking about is referral sources, the OpCities, the Redfin partner programs, the stuff like that that's out there, where you can get leads from them and pay them 30%, 35%, maybe for some of you that you might have beginning leads from someone. And even if you're on a team for a while, people ask me all the time when they start in this business, should I be on a team? Yeah, absolutely. Get some deals under you, especially if you don't have a lot of money to invest in your business right now. And then take that money that you make after paying the 30% referral fees and put some of it back into your lead generation. So just because we're, right now I'm talking about spending money. If you're not there yet, you still need to start thinking about this today, because hopefully if you don't have the money today, you put a plan in place to get the money in 2 months or 3 months. So don't shut off my webinar right now because you don't have $10,000. So here's what I'm talking about. I worked up a spreadsheet because I wanted to show you guys how this is actually possible and how you can take a $10,000 investment and turn it into $200,000 in 3 years or less. So you have an initial investment of $10,000. What I've seen is when I kind of sucked, the cost per deal was about $1,500 per deal. That's after lead capture and lead generation and conversion. Now it's probably a little bit longer than that. That's kind of a 2-year look on the money that I spent from 2 years ago till now. But that's the average. And it's actually moved down from that more towards $1,250. If you're super good, you maybe could get down to $1,000. But we're just going to use $1,500 for the scenario for year number 1. That's 6.67 deals at an average of 320 at 2.25%. That's a first year income, gross income of 48,000 off of that, and a net of 38. That's almost a 4-time return on your investment. Now, depending on your lead stream, it may take a little bit longer to see that 3 or 4-time return on your first year, because there's an incubation period. You may have a lead late into the second year that closes that's from your first year. But these overall are the numbers I'm seeing. These are numbers I see and hear from other people that are doing lead generation at a high level. You just have to keep working it to see it, but these numbers will hold true. Justin, I don't know if you know your cost per deal, do you?
I do not have my cost per deal on me. I'd have to go into my CT spreadsheet.
But one of the reasons I know that these numbers should hold true is if you did a deal for OpCity, they're charging you 35%. So on that's a $300,000 deal. at 2.5%, it's roughly 8,000. They're charging you $2,500 to $2,800 for that referral. And I can guarantee you the lead is costing them about half of that with all their all-in costs, their capture, the conversion, everything. If they weren't making money on your $2,800, they wouldn't be doing it. So these numbers will hold true. You just have to keep working the system. And I'll show you in a little while a tool that you can use or a type of tool you can use to kind of analyze these things. So we look at year number 2, you reinvest that original $10,000. By the end of the year, you've now got $102,000 off that original $10,000 investment. Year number 3, you reinvest the same, and you will end up with $200,000 net from that first $10,000 investment. So it is possible. Year number 4, it starts to grow even more. And that's only if you invest that first year money back in without escalating it. But if you really, really want to grow this like crazy, then what you have to start to do is look at growing the 10,000 and growing it to a higher level in the second or third year. Personally, I spend about $2,000 a month on lead gen myself. I'm bumping it up a little bit now, but that's what I spend. And as you can see in here too, one of the things you have to consider if you're doing a goddamn good job of what you do every day is year 2, year 3, year 4, you're going to start to get referrals. So you're going to start to make more money per deal or more money per dollar spent on a year-to-year basis. So the big issue with real estate agents is they're only looking on the short term, and they're not analyzing 1, 2 years, 3 years from the time when they started spending. They want the instant answer, and it's not going to be there. What you're really looking for is I want to be able to in 3 years look back and say I made a 30-time return on my investment. And you can, if you're doing a good job, you can make a 100-time return on a 200-time return on investment, or even more, because if you're really working your systems and your referrals the way you should. If you're literally spending money and never getting a referral, something's wrong. If you're spending money, getting leads, converting them, and getting referrals off those leads, and continuing to grow more ad spend, leads that convert, and more referrals, which are free, you're going to see this go crazy. You can see year 5, year 6, we're up to $500,000. And then over on the right side, we're going to start, what I wanted to look at was if I increased it by 10,000 every year. So I started with 10,000 year number 1, year number 2, I'm spending 20,000 because I had a good return the first year. And you can see your net profit first year, $38,000. To invest $20,000 in the second year is going to feel painful, but the compounding effect of it will be crazy for your business. I remember seeing a webinar a while back from, it was actually the Chinati Group, which was with Keller Williams. I think they're their own brokerage now. But she put in over 50% of her income every year for the first, I think 6 years. She was growing her team back in her business. So she literally lived on peanuts so she could have an incredible future 5 years from now. So think about those things. So now if we're increasing it to 20,000 the second year, it's a accumulated profit of 152,000, which honestly should be more than that. I can tell you in 2020, I spent a little over 20,000 on leads, and I grossed 200,000. And only a couple of those deals were referrals, but one of them was a referral from the lead the year before. So these numbers are definitely achievable for any one of you. Year 3, you're up to 30,000. Your profits, your net year profits 236,000. Year 4, you're spending 40,000. Your net profit is over 200,000. If you want to build a $200,000 income, I think you can spend $25,000 to $30,000 a year and make that if you're good, maybe even 20. But it's going to be hard to get there. It's going to be hard to make $250,000 a year if you're not investing in leads in a manner of at least $20,000 a year. Year 6, look at this. Year 6 cumulative profit off that original $10,000 is $1 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And you'll never make that anywhere else. Yes, it's not a passive income in the sense that you have to work this business, but it's only 26, 30 deals a year. I think most of us would love to just do 36 deals a year, that 30 to 40 deals a year that come to us, make $250,000, spend 20 to $30,000 a year on advertising, and just, create a predictable business that you can give yourself a nice income off, a nice salary off, put yourself on the payroll, get taxes taken out like a normal, person would, and not have to worry about that big tax bill at the end of the year. Hire an admin for $15,000 a year to take all the hard stuff off you, and live a good life in real estate. And this is where it all begins. It begins and ends with how well you become at doing and investing in your business and running it like a business. Here's one thing that I wanted to point out that does not show in any of these spreadsheets. It's what the true value of one lead can be. I don't know how many times I hear agents complain, especially about these referral lead sources where you pay 30 or 35% for a referral. I know in some states, agents and companies are charging 50% for a listing referral. Why? Because the value of those to an agent who's trying to grow a business is beyond belief. And here's what I want you guys to start thinking about is you get lead number one. It's a $300,000 lead. It's only 2% co-broke offering, and it costs you $2,000. You just started spending money on Realtor.com or Zillow. Takes you a few months. You're spending $500 a month. All of a sudden, you get a deal, and you're not sure there's any other deals that are going to come out of that. So you kind of look at it saying, I just spent $2,000. I only had one deal come from it. I only made $4,000. It's still profit, but you're not looking at the big picture. Think about the big picture. You did a bang up job for that client. Now they give you a referral in year number two. It's a $350,000 deal at 2%. That's $7,000. What was the cost of that? Nothing. Referral number two, they send you another referral. That's from lead number one. They sent you another referral. It's $200,000. Oh, it's a small deal. Their friends are buying the first house. It's a $4,000 commission. But then they refer you another piece of business that's $300, and then they refer you another piece of business that's $200. But on the other side, you get a referral from referral number one, and then they refer you a listing lead, and that listing ends up giving you another buyer lead off the listing lead. And at the end of the day, you can look a few years down the road, and if you're really running things the way you should and doing, treating your clients the way you should, you could easily see a profit of $50,000 off a $2,000 lead cost. You got to start thinking about the big picture. Unless you hate people and basically want to ignore everybody that you ever did business with, never call them again, never keep them in your pipeline, never call to check in on them, never ask for referrals, then yeah, it's lead generation, lead cost, lead investing. It's probably not going to be a great investment for you. You'll still make money, but look at the possibilities of what you could make by really making that person your new friend, making that person that you close that deal with through Opcity, making them your raving fan. Then you're talking huge return on even a referral fee. So start thinking about this differently. Before you start to spend money, you need to consider a couple things. You need systems, capture, nurture, convert leads, and calculate your lead returns. You need to know the types of leads you want and where, the types of lead sources you will use, and you have to have your goals. You have to know what your goals are. You have to know what your personality type is and what your skill sets are, because some of them may need an improvement along the way. But you want to have an end in mind if you're going to get into lead generation and lead investing. Your goals, your personality, and your skills. You need to decide what your goals are. If you don't want to make $200,000 a year, don't spend the kind of money that's going to take to do that, because you're going to hit $100,000 in income and you're just going to stop, and then you're going to have spent $25,000 to make 100. Not great. Maybe okay for you, but you probably can make that with spending less. So you got to really want it. You got to identify why you want it and what your goal is, what your income goal is, and then you can start to back into what can I spend now to get there as fast as I want to. You need to know your personality type and how that's going to help you decide your lead source. We're going to talk about a little bit about the different lead sources, but Facebook is typically not a high intent advertising source. It's great for your branding, but not everybody that goes on Facebook that clicks on your post or your ads is going to be ready to buy. Some of them may just be fooling around. They want to register because they want to see pretty pictures. Versus Google. Google is more intent for sure. If you go to Google and you type in Shrewsbury, Mass homes for sale, you certainly have an intent. You have an intent to buy at some point. It may not be for 3 or 4 years, but you wanted to go find a good website to look for homes in Shrewsbury, Mass. Higher intent, not necessarily ready to pull the trigger, but higher intent. Your next level is your Zillows and your Real.com. And as I'm talking through these, the more intent, the closer to the potential purchase, the higher the price. So if you're talking Zillow or Real.com, definitely a lot higher price, but these people are requesting information on a property. Again, doesn't mean they're going to buy for another year or 2 years, especially in this low inventory market, but there's a higher level intent, more of an interest in actually speaking to someone. If someone registered on Google, they probably still don't want to talk to you. There's occasionally you'll get those leads that they are interested in a specific property, but for the most part, they're not ready to talk to anybody. Zillow, Real.com leads, they're typically more likely to be willing to talk because they had an interest in a specific property. So if you're instant gratification, you have trouble seeing the long-term, trouble doing a follow-up, then maybe you lean the Real.com or Zillow way because they are inquiring on a property. They're going to cost you more per lead, but they're going to be a different level of intent. But in the long run, as you start to grow your expenditure, you want to be thinking about Google and Facebook as well, and spending more money in those because it's a lower cost lead source, and you can capture more email addresses. The thing that drives me the most nuts in this business is you spent money to capture a name and an email address and sometimes a phone number. If you ever say they're dead and they're gone, then call me up and I'll buy them for a cent a name, because that person showed intent in having an interest in real estate, and in the right hands, as Justin can probably tell you, the retargeting and the recapture potential is huge. And you're doing recapture and retarget, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The bigger your database, the better, right?
100%. I cannot have enough leads. I need to have more leads coming in so that I can retarget them, and I can continue to nurture more leads at once so that I can have a bigger return on my investment in the years to come.
Absolutely. So, and some of you may not understand what we mean by retarget. You can learn it, but you can also hire people to help you with the advertising. There's sources out there and virtual assistants that can help with that, or like at the Lux, we just started working with a company that's going to help us with that. Retargeting is basically taking your database and putting your ads in front of them wherever. That could be wherever they're going on the internet. It could be on Facebook and Instagram. But instead of advertising to the world, you can then advertise to your database. And the more someone sees you and hears you, the more chance you are going to have of converting them in the future. So just keep that in mind, that once you have an email address, that has value. It has value. People pay for databases like that have, people who are interested in real estate. Don't throw it in the trash. Make sure you keep it in you spend the money, you keep it in a database. But so we could talk about a little different
Hey, Tracy,
sources.
to add to that, another major thing with just having an email address and a name is who this person is. I mean, you have different sources right down to Spokeo, Cole Realty, Red-X, that you can go back and you can find the person's actual phone number, and then you can give them a phone call after that. They did agree when they were captured to be called. So whether they gave you a bad number or a good number, I've had multiple leads where I've went out and done the work to find their number through coal marketing, coal realty resource, all those different. And turns out they either A, put in the wrong phone number, or B, they actually did want they did want to call, they just didn't want to get spammed. So as long
Right.
as you're not spamming them too, that's another part of it.
Right. Exactly. Skill sets, if what skill sets do you have now? What skill sets will you need to begin investing in leads? Honestly, as far as investing in leads go, as long as you're willing to pick up the phone, as long as you're willing to follow up, I don't believe in a lot of scripting. I don't know. Justin, do you use a lot of scripting?
I do, but I've gotten to a point where I've memorized all of my scripting. My scripting is more just questions.
Right.
I try to have a list of questions in front of me that I know I need to ask, and I ask them throughout the conversation, depending on the direction that the conversation is going in.
Right. So this is kind of a personality trait thing too. I always had an issue with scripts. It made me not want to make calls. I found that I was always better at just having conversations with people. You may want to have like a checklist reminder of questions you want to ask during a conversation, but I always felt I would just pick up and dial. Hey, you inquired about a property, or hey, I noticed you were looking at properties on my website. Um, you have to do it. I don't think you necessarily have to spend years, perfecting scripts before you get on the phone, before you invest in leads. Just be a nice person, even if you're leaving messages, leave a nice message. You don't have to go crazy in your own head thinking that you're not ready to do this. Just be human. You're offering your help. If they don't want your help, then move on to somebody else. Someone's going to want your help if you ask enough people. So just keep that in mind as you're going. There's a lot of different lead sources. The no investment kind of lead sources I kind of want to mention are the ones like Opcity and Redfin, Upnest, Estately, I think is one of them out there. You can, again, Google, lead sources for real estate agents and find stuff. You can find stuff in these groups that I'm talking about joining. I don't know them all. I certainly don't. There's a lot of them out there, but you can look into those and pay a referral fee. If you're not closing any business, find business you can close that's on a referral fee. It's better to make, $5,000 and pay a $3,000 referral fee than not close any business at all. So consider those if you don't have the money right now. Real.com and Zillow are probably the bigger two of where you can spend money to get leads. Those are usually people that are inquiring about properties. So a lot of people like those. I like those kind of leads. But Google is another great one. There's a lot of intent with Google. And you can often find sellers in there too that are kind of looking for properties that they might move into before they sell. So that Google's a great lead source. Facebook and Instagram leads are as well. You just have to understand that there's a branding piece that goes along with that too. You're going to get less highly interested leads early on, more of a branding and impact kind of advertising as time goes on, especially if you're locating it in an area and people are seeing your business ads every week, looking for homes, looking to sell. That stuff will work. I look at Facebook and Instagram as the new mail. Like it's a cheaper version of mail, and it's visually more pleasing. And let's face it, yes, you could do mail as well, but most people have gone to Facebook and Instagram. I don't know. There's others out there. Justin, do you know others that you invest in?
Um,
TikTok? Anybody doing TikTok yet? I mean, that's got to be the next.
No. I'm not doing. I don't want any 16-year-old leads. That's the thing with TikTok. I hear that they actually.
Do you have a TikTok account?
Programs on there for the people that are using them, but I am using Facebook, Google. I am using Zillow, and I'm using Redfin. Redfin is my no investment lead source where they send me leads and I pay them a 30% referral fee at the end of the day. Also Ojo, which is free, with a 35% referral fee, and Agent Pronto, which has a 35% referral fee as well.
Yeah. Nice. So there's a lot of them out there. I see a future for TikTok. I thought it was all 16-year-olds too. I got on it just to see what I could do with, potentially do with real estate. I haven't started investing in anything on there yet, but there's a lot of people that are stock followers and real estate followers in there that are posting stuff. There's way more to it than just 16-year-olds dancing. I'm just beginning to kind of put my foot in that water and see how it might be useful in real estate.
Hey, Tracy, it seems like your volume went way down.
Oh, really? Oh, huh, weird. Let me see. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Just you sound a lot lower than you did about 10 minutes ago, and I'm
Oh,
pretty sure it's not me.
it might be you. I didn't change any audio settings, but hopefully we'll see. We'll see what happens. So yeah, let's move on. Type of leads you want. Design your lead spend around the business you want to work, where you want to work it. Don't spend money in areas that, just because Zillow has availability, I don't know, in Webster and you don't want to work Webster, don't buy the leads there. Sometimes your decision may be what's available. You might call Zillow and Realtor.com and find out, only one has kind of the areas you want to be in. Some of the questions you need to ask them are, what is going to be, the number of leads that you'll get on average per your spend? What kind of percentage of the views you're going to get when people are looking? Any success people have had in the future with it or failures with the area. And you want to, pick areas that get listings. You don't want to pick, I don't know, Hubbardston if there's only 15 listings a year in Hubbardston. You can look back through MLS and find the search histories of how many properties sold in that town or that zip code. Pick an area that has a decent number of listings that come on and go off, because that's what creates new opportunities on those websites. Do you want buyer leads, seller leads, both? I know the seller leads are kind of a difficult one. I always say that probably the best way to find seller leads, yes, you can do home value ads, stuff like that, which tend to be a little bit longer term because people aren't really ready to sell yet. They want home value, or maybe they're just trying to refinance. But buyer lead generation in areas that are likely to have upsizers or downsizers. So if you're investing in leads in Worcester, you're going to have a lot of probably first-time home buyers, not necessarily resellers. But if you're, who knows, let's say if you're in Northborough or Westborough and, you're kind of trying to key in on a $300,000 to $500,000 price range for purchases, you may find some downsizers or upsizers. And the only reason you don't find sellers when you're investing in buyer leads is if you're not asking the question. I don't know how many times I've either sold properties or been on one side or the other and heard that, oh yeah, no, I'm selling my home with an agent, but I'm buying, with you. I'm like, how did that happen? The listing agent that listed your property didn't ask you where you're moving next, or who knows what happened. But you'd be surprised if you're investing in the right ways in the right areas, how many buyer leads you're going to get that are just registered looking for homes in Westborough who are going to be selling a home in, Holden or who knows, or Grafton and moving to Shrewsbury. But think about how people move, where people move from to, what the price ranges are, and you'll find seller leads in there. Think about the branding leads versus the ghost lead aspect. That's why even if you're going to spend $30,000, I don't recommend you just dump it all in Zillow or Realtor.com, because it's not going to give you any branding impact. Nobody's going to know who you were or are really until you call. Realtor.com especially, they're not going to have any idea who you are until they register. With Zillow, they probably barely understand who they clicked on to register and contact. So you're not getting a lot of branding impact with that versus your Facebook and your Google. Facebook's obviously number one, and Instagram is number one for branding impact, but Zillow for Google is too. If you tell a seller, I'm on Google all the time. If you're looking for homes in Shrewsbury and type in Shrewsbury, Mass real estate, whose website's popping up? There's an impact with that for sure. Systems and tools you're going to need. First, you're going to need a place to capture leads. You need a good website. Yes, you could capture leads with Messenger and some other ways. forms and stuff like that. But if you don't have a good lead website that offers MLS syndication, where you can capture your leads once they look at a property or two, then I don't know if it's worth the spending the money. And this is even true with Zillow and Real.com, because I don't know how many people I've converted that were on Real.com or Zillow that didn't like that first property, or what's happened all the time now is you get a new lead on these sources and, oh, that property is already gone. Now you have a chance to convert them. If you're landing them, and if you have Zillow or Real.com and you're working with us and you're with Sync, if you're not having those lead land automatically in Sync, you're making a mistake. Those should automatically feed into Sync, which can be set up. And then it'll automatically look at what they looked at on Zillow or Real.com, and it'll set them up for a listing alert based on what they're looking at. So you need to have a syndication onto a website so that you can set them up for listing alerts and keep following up with them, because the follow-up is where you win. You're barely ever going to make any wins off the initial inquiry. So be careful about that, where you decide to land leads. Personally, I think it has to have some kind of CRM, either automatically in the lead capture website, or it's got to be synchronized with it. So automatically any lead that lands on your website and registers or comes from Zillow and ends up in your website database, that they are either in a CRM right then, or they automatically get added to a CRM. There's a lot of products that will talk to each other now. So if you're setting this up, make sure you can get them to automatically talk to each other and update each other if they're not all in one systems, because you don't want to manually, you're going to forget people. If you have to manually take your Zillow leads or manually take leads out of your website and put them into a CRM, you're never going to do it. It's just not going to work. And the reason being that it's all in the follow-up. Your money comes in the follow-up, not in the initial inquiries. Some of the systems out there that people use are Sync, YLOPO. Justin, you use YLOPO, right?
Yeah, I love that program. The only thing with YLOPO is it does not have a built-in CRM. You have to have a CRM that connects to it.
Yeah.
So I use YLOPO and Follow Up Boss.
Okay.
But I know it works with Sync, Sierra, and a few others as well.
Okay. But would you agree you have to have them synchronized, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd never get anything done.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
All right, other systems out there, Market Leader, Boomtown, KV Core, there's a lot of them out there. You can do your research and figure out what works for you. I think we got a pretty good system with Sync. I like Sync. I know Justin has a great system with YLOPO. I like some of the AI stuff that YLOPO is doing over Sync. Sync has an AI. I don't love it as much as what I see and hear from YLOPO, but again, both, you don't beat yourself over the head making sure you have absolutely the best in the world. There's a lot of them out there that are great, and it's just about picking one of them and working with it and using it to its best of its ability. Just like any CRM, what's the best CRM out there? It's the one you're using. At the end of the day, if you're not using it, it's what is it? One of the first trainings I ever went through in real estate, they talked about, making sure you had your black book. And this was, this internet was still kind of early in 2005, 2006. Yeah, I was using real estate, but they talked about having kind of your black book of real estate, and they kind of were trying to dumb it down by saying, have a journal and you write, that you use for your entire database and write everybody in there that you have. But the reality is it's got to be online these days, but your database is your CRM. It's the place where everybody goes that you've worked with in the past, every lead you've captured, everything. It should all be in there as one. It should be categorized. So past clients go in one bucket, new leads go in another bucket, and it needs to have the appropriate buckets so you can manage it effectively. But you have to have a CRM and you got to use it. And it's got to be tied to your lead generation. You can research, all these systems on lab code agents and all this stuff. You can ask questions, you can scroll through the posts, you can search posts and find a lot of information on the stuff of what people are using. Again, I'm no expert. I know there's a lot of stuff out there that I don't know about that could be better. I continue to work the systems I'm using every day, but it doesn't mean I'm also not looking for what else is out there and maybe I can incorporate in the future. But you just don't want to get stuck trying to make decisions and not make any decisions and just be not doing anything because you can't make a decision. So do your research, ask questions, make a decision, set your plan, get your systems in place, and run with it. We talked about you need a good CRM. You know, you got to build out your campaigns. I suggest you do it before you even start spending money. You know, do new buyer leads go into a campaign? If you've had a good conversation with them, does that campaign end or does it continue? Once you're showing properties, do you have a showing property campaign where they get emails throughout the process of looking for homes or moving from offer to closing? Do you have a sphere of influence campaign that sends your entire sphere of influence an email every month? If you don't set this stuff up on automation, I don't think it's ever going to happen. There's some people out there that are disciplined enough to like manually create an email every month to their entire sphere of influence or their entire database. I'm not one of them. I don't think most people are. Set it up. Make sure you have a CRM you can set up campaigns, put labels on people, put them in their buckets, add different campaigns to them so that you're consistently in front of everybody in your database all the time. Not overboard, but at least once a month, twice a month if they're a new buyer lead. And make sure you're bringing a lot of value in your database. You don't want to keep saying, hey, buy with me, buy with me, buy with me. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're bringing value to them. Information on loans, information on using a renovation loan. What they
Monthly market stats.
What's that?
Monthly market stats.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, that one you should do a video of. And anytime you can incorporate video nowadays, that's even better. Even if it's a video link to a YouTube page, because that gets them seeing you and hearing you as opposed to just reading. But yeah, those are great, awesome stuff. Anything you can bring of value, what tips on how to prepare for making your first offer, how to get your offer accepted when you make your first offer, just all the things that, bring value to their lives, instead of just trying to be an order taker. Systems. Lastly, you need a virtual whiteboard that also tracks your return on investment and lead source. Justin, does YLocal have this within it?
No, it doesn't, but Follow Up Boss does.
Okay. See, same thing with Sync doesn't, but I wish it did. Because here's the thing, if you're just using a lead capture website, you're capturing leads, you're hoping that they use the website to look at listings, kind of which will keep them in your top of your mind. The reality is not everybody's going to stick to the website. If they love searching for homes on Zillow, they're probably going to keep searching for homes on Zillow. And if you had a great conversation with them, but you have no way of keeping them top of mind, you're going to forget about them. I don't think a written whiteboard for prospective clients can work anymore. You need too many leads for closings with the limited inventory we have. I remember the days when you'd get, a few people on the phone, they'd be like, okay, great, let's start looking for homes. You get them out the first weekend. Oh, wait, we didn't find anything that was perfect for you. But all right, let's set next weekend. We'll go out next weekend. We'll look at 6 homes. Then we'll go out the weekend after, look at 6 homes. And before you know it, we'll find you the perfect home. Now you have a great showing, perfect rapport, awesome. Now you leave, wasn't the house, got to wait for another one to come on the market. 3 months later, you're going to forget about them unless they're top of mind awareness. I don't care how you do it. Somehow or another, you have to figure out how to never let anybody slip through the cracks. I've been working kind of on this tool for a while. I've still got some things I wish it had, but I built this app called Agent Visionary. I'm still kind of playing around with it. If anybody wants this for free, they can have it. I'll set you up with an account. It's got a lot of things in it, but for this training, I'm just going to point at the pipeline tool. And allows you to basically add any piece of business that you basically had a good conversation with. If you had a good conversation with them, not out showing houses yet, you add them into your, what I call this is my virtual whiteboard. If I'm actively showing them properties, I can switch them to active from prospective, from active back to prospective, from active to under agreement to close. And every time I move their status, they get a higher grade, and they get a different valuation. So in order to make sure I don't forget anybody that may not be using my website or my MLS, I'm adding them in here, and I'm giving them a rating: prospective buyer, prospective listing, active buyer, listings, under agreements, and then eventually I hope they close. It's giving me partial pieces of commission too, so that I can look down into the graphs on this and say, all right, I see what I have under agreement. I have active buyers. If I closed all of them, I'd make 200,000, but based on the law of averages, if I close 1 out of 10, I'm gonna make $40,000. I hope I actually close more than 10%, but it kind of gives you an idea of where you're at, but it also tracks, how much money will I potentially earn off my Realtor.com investments or my Google advertising investments. And it'll because it's adding in pieces. So if you add 10 prospective clients into the database that you had good conversations with, they're getting 10% each. That means if you follow up with all 10, you should close at least one deal. And the spreadsheet will give you an average. It'll give you pieces of commission towards that, full piece. And it kind of does help you see your business and forecast. Like if I'm just as good as the average of most agents, then I should make this off of for your entire year. And this is what I should get for a return on my Realtor.com or my Zillow spend or anything like this. Unfortunately, this is all manual because I haven't found a system that will take all the information automatically and feed it into this. But that I feel is an important manual step, because it's like writing on a whiteboard. Oh, just had a great conversation with John. I need to write down the notes. I need to write down somewhere where I don't forget all the notes on John and what he told me and where he's looking to buy and what his family looks like, how many kids he has, where, what ages are they? You're writing all these notes when you're having conversations with people, but even if you put it in a notebook, the chances of you going back in the notebook and finding it and remembering it are slim to none. So take the step, add them in to something like this, even if it's just a spreadsheet, somewhere where you're not going to forget them. If you do not do this step somehow, either manually into a website, or somehow maybe you can group them into, Market Leader or one of these websites with a label that makes you not forget them. Personally, that doesn't work for me, and I don't think it works for a lot of agents. Is you got to have some kind of virtual whiteboard where you won't forget them. You'll be able to look through here and say, oh man, I got to give, Bennett a call, or, go back through your prospective buyers and say, I got a lot of people in here. Who can I start to move forward? Who haven't I contacted in a while? And just kind of use that kind of tool to kind of make sure you don't let anybody slip through the cracks. I hate when I spent money on leads and all of a sudden I realized that I screwed up and forgot somebody. And I don't care how many years in the business, I don't care how good a memory you have. If you start filling up a virtual whiteboard like that, given a few months of leads, and you start to look down through it, you're going to be like, oh man, I should have probably called that person last week. You may not forget them forever, but because you have this virtual whiteboard, but you will forget people. I've forgotten people. I've lost business that I should have captured, and it drives me nuts. So don't make that mistake. All right. Try to keep going here so we don't run too long here. But you have to look at it every day. I look at this every single day. I look at how can I move people through? Who do I need to follow up on? It has a follow-up section, where you can just follow up with the ones that you need to. You notice I need to do some work, but I still can at least look in there and make sure I'm following up as much as possible. So as far as that's what the next slide is. Did I forget something? It's great. You can have all these tools, but if you don't have some kind of like in front of your face short list of all the leads you have, it's going to be hard to make sure you don't miss somebody. Great website, great CRM, all seems to be working. People are looking at properties in your website. You're sending them emails. But if you forget to make calls at the right time, or just let somebody slip through the cracks, you're going to lose money. So you need something else. There's nothing out there that I found that's perfect for that. That's a website, CRM, and pipeline system that kind of lets you see your business from a bigger perspective, but also not forgetting people. I don't see it out there. If you find it, let me know. But if anybody wants this agent visionary tool, let me know and I'll send it to you. Okay, ready to jump in. Now what? You got to pick your zip codes. You got to, you might have to learn how to run ads on Google or Facebook, or you find someone to run your ads for you. We've finally found somebody. I know there are some virtual assistants out there that'll do this too. From a company perspective, we just started with a company, New Hampshire Marketing, that's going to help us with that. We just, I believe 2 agents are now up and running with their ads. Here's my opinion. If you're gonna spend money with somebody that knows how to do it right. I've spent a lot of time running ads on Facebook and Google. It's time out of my day that probably could be better spent on other things. And I don't know even a minute amount of how to dial those things in the way a company that does this all the time can. When they start talking about, using lookalike audiences and dialing in on certain keywords and monitoring the keyword success and monitoring the conversions to keyword and monitoring how long people are on the website, with one keyword versus another keyword, that's just way over any of our heads. So I think if you're going to get serious about this, unless you're just doing Zillow or Real.com, if you're doing Google or Facebook or any of the Instagram, find somebody to manage your ads for you. It's just my opinion. Leads are running now. Now what do you need to do? You need to work your leads daily. You need to work the ladder. And when I say the ladder, no lead comes in and go, every once in a great while, you'll have one lead comes in, you convert them, 5 days later, they're under agreement. Rare. It's like, that's like the diamond. If you can find those one or 2 of those diamonds every year, you've gotten lucky. But the majority of them are going to come in. They're going to have come in as a new lead. You're going to process them, giving your steps, and you have to have your steps in place. What do I do when a new lead comes in? And we've done this for Sync for all the Lux agents. I know we have a training that we did, and I can send that to you on the steps of what happens. A lead registers on your website. Are you checking their listing alert to make sure it makes sense with what they're looking for and what price range they're looking for? Are they putting on a CRM drip? Which one? Have I made a call and left a message? Have I sent them a text and an email introducing myself? What kind of information am I giving them in those initial emails so that they can vet me out? One of the things I didn't mention earlier is, and I wouldn't say this should prevent you from investing in leads, but soon after you start investing in leads, you should have some place that every lead can click on to go vet you out, or at least look you up. They're going to either go to Google or they're going to go where you want them to go. I try to send an email out just saying, hey, if you want to learn more about me, my experience, and read some recent testimonials, go to tracybarberrealestateexpert.com. I think everybody should have a domain, and at some point, even if it's just a simple one-page website that you could easily build. I've built them on Weebly.com, Weebly, Weebly.com. There's other ones out there. There's such simple website builders that you literally drag text and pictures into the page, and then you add the picture, add the text. It could be just as simple as that, but you want some place where clients can kind of look and see, hey, who's this Tom Beach guy that's calling me? What is he? I know everybody that Tom does business with knows Tom, but but what I'm saying is basically you have to give people a place to go check you out, read your testimonials. Just, they're going to decide whether they want to work with you or not without even ever telling you face to face or phone to phone. So, but having those steps, working that ladder, trying to get them from a lead to maybe just prospective, maybe a good conversation, to active, to under agreement and closed. You're literally trying to move people up all the time. Who can I move up? Oh shit, someone just dropped back. Let me try to get someone else up. Or maybe let me try to get them back up on the active. Maybe they went cold for a while. How can I bring them back around? That's all you're doing every single day, is trying to keep people going up the ladder to the point that they close. So keep that in mind. You got to follow the signs. People show you when they're using your website and they are looking at properties. And we're going to get to questions and answers, a Q&A in a second here. So I saw someone trying to pipe in, but if you're trying to convert leads, they show you if they're using your website when they're getting more serious. Their activity on a day-to-day basis will increase. They might have gone dead for a while, and all of a sudden they're back on your website looking for homes. You know, they might look at a property 10 times, and you can see that they looked at one property 10 times. There's signs that'll give you reasons for calling. You don't have to think about this like, oh, I'm just gonna be constantly calling and bother them. And you know, have a reason for calling them. Call about a new listing in a town that they knew that you know they're interested in. Send them a copy of that listing. Look at the property that they just looked at and say, hey, did you notice this property? Hey, here's my market report for the month. I hope it you know, provides you with a little insight of what's going on. You know, educate them, provide knowledge to buyers and sellers. There's all things that you can do to be able to reach out without being a pain in the ass. Be pleasant, be always helping, always leave messages. I remember an agent telling me once, I don't know why I leave voicemails. Nobody ever calls me back. It doesn't matter. They listen to the voicemail. I can guarantee you they listen to the voicemail. And if they listened to the voicemail and they heard someone that was pleasant and helping and just there to help whenever they were ready, you've just gained bonus points. You don't know it. They're never gonna tell you. You just gained bonus points, but you did. There's now a voice behind the emails. If you can get a video in front of them that they actually open, that's even bigger. Now they see you and hear you and read you. You haven't met them yet, so you don't know that connection is being made, but it is without you actually being in front of them or knowing who they are face to face. Don't forget anyone ever, and make sure you're asking for referrals. Those are all critically important things in lead generation, and you can't underestimate those things ever. Let's see if I have any questions here. I have someone in the chat. Oh, Nick was just saying, I hear fine. Justin, you still with me?
I am still with you, yes.
Any other advice, feedback you have as I'm opening it up to anybody that wants to come in and ask any questions?
You know, I would just say if you have any questions or you run into any problems with getting your systems up, feel free to get in touch with me. I'd be glad to help you out. I have a fairly good system that works. I could show you a couple things. I'm sure Tracy could as well if he has time. The only thing I would say is everything in this is 100% true. If you're not doing this, you're not going to run a successful business. It's just not going to happen. You will lose people. Like Tracy said, people will fall through the cracks. You won't be able to keep in touch with everybody. And you're just going to stay at 20 deals a year or 15 deals a year or wherever you are. You have to do this if you want to start growing exponentially.
Right, exactly. And if you get really good at it, you can do what Justin's starting to do, which is start growing a team. You know, you're investing in leads, you know, you may be able to start increasing your leads to the point where you can't handle all the business on your own. Tom, I know Tom is in the same position. He's brought on team members now because he can't handle all the business. And, you know, there's only so much any of us can do in a day. There's only so many buyer clients we can take out. There notoriously is going to come a time when you're trying to do something with your family, a birthday party, something, and some buyer wants to go out and look at a property. And yes, there are certain times when you can steer them to another time and day, but there's times when you know that that's not going to be a possibility because they need to submit highest and best offers by Monday at 12 p.m. Have a team or have a referral partner in place too if you're spending money on leads, because you can capture more. You can capture more without feeling guilty, without working yourself into the ground, with still having a life, still having a family. Get to the point where maybe even if you don't have a physical team, you have one agent that you work with closely in the office that will take your overflow leads and give you a 25 or 30% referral fee for them, or, you know, be on a team split if it's a team situation, and, you know, bring you back in a return on your investment. You could become the Opcity. You could become the Zillow, where, you know, you're just sitting behind the computer and working your money and working your lead generation and making a profit off it. If Zillow and Opcity and all these companies are making profit off of advertising and leads, then you can too. You can create hell. Let's just throw out the scenario. You want to take next year off. You want to take 2022 off. You're going to travel the world. You know, if you set up your business right and invest in leads right and have the right team in place, you can make money and have it all run automatically. And you just take, you know, another a year off and travel the world. Any other questions? Comments, thoughts? Anybody can talk now if they want to, but any other thoughts, Justin? How you're what, 2 years into your kind of lead spend?
2 years, yeah. Like I said, I started out, my first drop into leads was Zillow, actually.
Okay.
And funny enough, it was against my brokerage's advice. I was working for KW at the time, and it was always work your sphere, work your sphere, work your sphere. And, you know, after a month of calling my sphere and finding out, you know, I don't really have one that's very useful to me in real estate, I dumped 200 into Zillow. Right off of that 200, I immediately got 3 leads from them that turned into a buy, sell, a buy, and a buy.
Wow.
And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going into this. So I upped the spend on that a little bit. Eventually got into Redfin after 15 deals, and they do the referrals for 30%. Then started working with Ylopo and doing Facebook ads, Google ads, and retargeting. And plus, they just have a lot of awesome tools too to help you follow up.
All right. How many leads do you have in your database?
10,000.
Wow. Oh, that's powerful. That's a powerful database right there. Any regrets?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. It's, you know, I in particular, talking about Zillow, you made the comment that it was against your brokerage's advice. And I know some agents within our firm would say it would be crazy advice for me to say we should be spending with money with Zillow too, because you know, they're possibly and likely out to put us out of business in the long run.
Yeah, but I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, strike while the iron's hot. If you're not spending, somebody else is going to be spending. You're not going to stop it.
Yeah,
You know,
if
you might as
you
well
take your
get
$1,000
your money
away
while
from
it's
Zillow,
there.
if you take your $1,000 away from Zillow, it's not going to do any harm to them. You know, you know, it's too late. It's too late to say we can all pull back from Zillow and put them out of business. It's just not possible anymore. In fact, they probably started to hear agents say, well, we'll stop synchronizing our listings to them. And guess what happened a few weeks ago? They decided to find brokers in every state across the country, and they are now getting a direct MLS feed. We have no choice in syndicating anymore. Zillow's got the listings. They got the advertising, they got the listings. They're going to do something with it. I think, like most companies, I don't know if any of you remember realestate.com. They were a big kind of lead generator for a while. I think they got sold to, I think Zillow might own that name, I think now. But they dabbled and tried to become a real estate brokerage and had a lot of trouble with it. Let's face it, Zillow could have the same kind of troubles. You know, they're selling leads and making money off of agents who are consistently spending hundreds of millions of dollars with them. They're doing it because they're successful. You know, if they start pulling back a lot of those leads and just giving them to agents who, you know, are not, you know, are, you know, let's just say they're not the best agents in the world, they're going to have a hard time. They're going to find it's a lot harder to jump into that world than they expect. Just like Redfin's, you know, certainly had success, but they need referral partners in other parts of the state where the average commission isn't $20,000 a year. Yeah. They're going to find the same problem. So they're not going to go away. There's still a good way of making money. In the long run, would I love to see any of you spending on money on Zillow, you know, in 4 years or 5 years, be 100% Google and Facebook and have such a huge database that you don't need Zillow anymore? Yeah. But can you make money with them now to get to that point? For sure.
Yeah, and like you said, you want to become the Zillow or the Redfin locally. I mean, right now my website gets somewhere in the range of 30,000 to 50,000 hits a month, and you know, I have people faithfully searching on that website. Some of those are leads that I generated and took from Zillow.
Right.
that are looking at 500 to 1,000 homes, and you know, they will be ready to go at some point as long as I keep in touch with them. I would encourage everybody that thinks that almost nobody uses Zillow that's a top agent. Go to Zillow and look at the zip codes, and you're going to be very surprised who you see in there.
Yeah.
Go look at who you find in the zip codes. It's all the agents that do 100 deals a year. It's pretty funny because they're the same ones that'll tell you don't do it.
Absolutely. They don't want the competition.
Check
But-
out Shrewsbury.
Yeah, you in there?
Yep.
Nice.
Shrewsbury and Westboro are in.
Yeah. Tom, you got any comments on lead generation? I know you've recently, you kill with referrals, but what made you want to jump into that, into Zillow?
More for my team than anything. I've always wanted to start a team, and I think it's definitely worked out, you know, to be the best way to do that.
Yeah. Do you like the aspect of feeling like it'll help you even out your income stream without being stressed 27 hours a day?
Absolutely, 100%. I've freed up a little bit of time, and it's been good for sure. And Nick and Tia are both doing a great job so far. So
Awesome.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, as a member of Tom's team, the Zillow investment has helped me immensely.
Yeah. And, you know, you guys are, I know, Nick, you just, you know, really just getting your career started, and Tia is the same thing. And if you notice with these lead sources, you probably feared in the beginning, like, shit, I'm not going to have enough experience for this. You know, I'm not going to know what to say, but you just kind of offer your help and you figure it out. People at the end of the day, they just want help. They're not going out saying, all right, Nick, how many years experience do you have? You know, I'm interviewing 3 agents from Zillow. You know, who do you want to work with? They want access to properties. They want help. They want
Right.
advice. And they just, most of the time, they just kind of trust that if you're the one talking to them, that you're going to help them get there.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And you're right. I was going in there going, oh my God, they're going to ask questions that I have no idea. And I found out that they know less than I do. So, yeah, so and, you know, and I mean, you know, I haven't had an easy deal yet. So everything that has been thrown at me has been thrown at me. So now when it comes up, I already know the answer to it. So it's been a great learning experience too.
The business always makes you pay your dues in the first first.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
I was just talking to Iva about that earlier. It's everybody has at least one nightmare in their first couple deals.
Yeah, I've had 3, so that's good.
Get the nightmares out of the way.
yeah,
All right.
I would also like to add something before we wrap this up. Boom, kid.
Boom! Yeah, kid.
Yeah, kid. Boom. Let's go. Keep up the great work, everyone.
Let's go. Awesome. Keep it up. If you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, love to hear from you. Talk to you soon.